Hello and welcome back to the Social Distortion podcast. Today I am joined with my good friend Ross.
Hello.
And Ross is a good friend of mine. I've known him for like I've known you for like 4 years, but we've started talking like in the recent 2. So it's a good relationship we've built up. No, it's been a while since the last podcast. I've really been pushing this, but I'm thankful that Ross has taken time to do this with me today. We have a very serious discussion, and before we get into it, for anyone going through depression or having these thoughts, know that you're not alone, and there will be things in the description like call centers that you can call if you feel like you are in need of help. I'm just going to say that outright because, I'm just a YouTuber, a Minecraft YouTuber at that. You shouldn't take what I say to heart, really.
That's the biggest. It's there's professionals and then there is us, which
Yeah.
not a professional.
Yeah. I'd like to disclose that up front. As much as I would love to think that maybe a few kind words will help, like sometimes it's rooted deeper than that. And if you need that help, it's there for you. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Going into it, though, last time I was in this podcast area, I was with Ashley, and we discussed self-deprecating jokes and humor in general. And a lot of people seemed interested about that segment because I think they themselves, inside, they related to that the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to talk to you about it, especially since you've done this industry a lot longer than I have, YouTube, and I wanted to talk to you about self-deprecating humor and if it was ever something you've had to deal with in the past and how it's affected you mostly.
In general, I'd say it's kind of always been an easy to go to backhanded joke, the easy I want to kill myself kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this sucks. I feel like it's a way of expressing more discomfort at a time, in a sense. Like some people use it as an expression of discomfort, where other people, it's one of those, it's hard to draw the line at a time of is someone uncomfortable? Is it, 'cause I can't really think of any prime examples of that. It's just, to me, it's always just been side jokes. There's never been anything where it's ever been more than a joke.
Okay, for you, it's been this outlet for humor, not a direct cause of how you're feeling.
I mean, that's how I've always seen the people around me who make the jokes and such.
Yeah. Okay. For me, I guess I dealt with that a lot because I felt like more than anything I was playing a part. So when I first started doing videos, say with Corey, I felt like I was branded as the idiot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, as the idiot, I would make those jokes. And I think even he said dude, you got to stop doing that because, it's not funny when you're just crapping on yourself all the time. And I was like, well, I've never seen a problem with it because I thought about it the same way you did. But the more people I talk to, when I get into personal conversations with them, it's almost as if sometimes I use that as an outlet to push those emotions. And I just hear it so much recently, and especially just everywhere. I think one of the things I hear most of all is I hate it here. And I get that. That's obviously a joke. When I hear people constantly berating themselves and belittling themselves, I'm just trying to think that definitely has a toll on you. If you're constantly putting yourself down, I couldn't even imagine the chipping away of morality that has on you as a person.
I mean, I feel like that kind of goes into, it's with self-deprecating, it goes into the self-esteem aspect because it's an attack on your own self-esteem when you do it too much, because there is that part where you start questioning yourself, am I actually not as great? You're the one convincing yourself, because it's you really have one person you really need to please, and that's yourself. And if you're willing to put yourself down to please another, it's it'll slowly form a cycle where that can be a negative.
Yeah. You start trying to please others rather than finding your own happiness in what you're doing. I think a lot of the times what I would do especially is I would look at what people liked. And no matter how it affected me, just because I thought it was funny, I would do it anyway. I can't tell you how many times I've hurt someone. Like we talked about with Ashley. Like, I hurt Ashley with that mentality of, nothing matters. So, like, why can't I just make fun of it anyway? Not including her feelings or how someone else would react to it. Because I was like, if it's funny, then what's the point? Like, obviously it's a joke, so why would they take it personally? But I guess what I've learned recently and what I've been trying to, I guess, express, at least for myself, is that no matter what I say, it's going to reflect good or bad on someone else. And same with myself. Like, say if I do those jokes to myself, it's going to either reflect in a good or negative way towards me. It's like if Ross, I messaged you one day, it's like, you're a piece of shit. I think maybe that would affect you a little bit. If you're like, man, that came out of nowhere. John's usually kind of kind to me.
I'd probably be very confused, but
Yeah.
I guess it's one of those, like, I would brush it off because it would seem, but if it became like a barrage of it,
Yeah.
then I'd be like, okay. Well, then I'd just kind of block you at that point. I'd just be like, okay, bye.
I mean, that makes sense. I think that's another thing. A lot of people fight for that negativity, that negative space. That they're like, well, all I know is this space, so I'm gonna fight for it. Like I've been treated away. Like, one thing like that, I was talking to someone today, and it's like they're so used to either not having someone or, just used to a feeling that anything else, is almost foreign to them. I also think people can get locked into like a toxic relationship almost with even people you're not in a relationship with. It's almost like you're so used to be treated a certain way that any other thing besides that almost seems like undeserving or foreign, or almost like it's almost more toxic than actually what's going on itself. But I think that's like a big discussion of like how people deserve to be treated and how people abuse others.
I feel like it all forms around like the strength of bonds, and probably, at least for me, it's like people misunderstand, because there can always be a power struggle of someone seeing themselves above another, but there are times where someone will think something's okay, well, it is slowly chipping away at the other person, kind of thing. Like, where, how, like you said before, like I could say, you piece of shit, as a joke, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't know that, kind of thing. And I feel like it's understanding like where a bond falls. Like, can I say that, kind of thing? Like, have I built that strength? And when, in a sense, like a handshake, if both hands aren't shaking on the same level, someone's shaking a little harder than the other, it is going to cause discomfort, kind of thing, which can, if gone unaddressed, will slowly form, like, it'll cause like a bubble of I can't think of the right word for this.
Yeah, it's okay. I get what you're saying, though. I think it was well put. Handshake metaphor I liked.
Negative feelings. Because it's like if someone's not shaking your hand the way you want, then you're not going to want to go back and continue shaking their hand.
Yeah, you're going to be like, oh, my hand hurts, it's stiff. What do you lift? Why are you squeezing that hard? What are you trying to prove?
But maybe someone else likes that. Maybe they want to squeeze back, have a little hand competition. I feel like it's communication as well, because like when it comes down to the jokes, like if I don't know someone and they're constantly making like a self-deprecating joke, I'm gonna be a little more concerned. But if I know my friend, we're doing good, and it's one of those, like, I feel like it's knowing the audience in a way of what you say.
I think that's,
and especially
important.
When it comes to like what's okay and what's not to say, it's like very dependent on the audience. And if you're meeting someone for the first time, it's like I feel like it's very hard to judge at a level like of what you say, like, oh, I thought it was all right to joke about, but it could be something someone else isn't entirely comfortable with. So it's always knowing your audience, because that, I feel like, is starting a hand. When you first meet someone, you're shaking a little too hard at the beginning.
Yeah. First, like with that, it's like your connection with someone, say like me or you, like me and your friendship. I think like, maybe, I've rubbed your back before. So, and I think we're pretty close. I could probably say that we're good friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if, like, say one day you're acting like a little off, I think I'd be able to tell. But I think you're right that when it comes to personal, like with these jokes, like it can be more of a, if someone's okay with it and that's how they express themselves humor wise, I say like, yeah, they're going to do it. But I
But
think,
if I'd never met you before,
yeah.
kind of thing.
And I'm coming at you with such a perfect day to jump off a bridge.
I'm not gonna know how to take it. Like that's where I feel it's like I'm not gonna know whether or not it's like I'm going to immediately jump to concern
Yeah.
in a sense, and I feel like that it's knowing your audience as well, because like that could be the correct. Like I've never met you, and do you need help?
All right. On that too, on like knowing your audience. I mean, getting more into that side of it. I think like I was even watching your stream. A little shout out to you, and
Thank you.
one of the things you did is like you took out this one comment in particular. I was like, like you really made my day, and like it makes me happy to sit here and watch you. Like even if it's just marbles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the response you gave, I think, was so wholesome and perfect. It's like you could like I don't care if like you were watching me or doing something else, as long as you are pursuing like to be happy, then I don't care how you do that.
As long as you're having a good time, because I don't I guess it's like, and it goes into, because kind of not exactly on topic, but it's like people who view streams to hate the streamer. They go there to be negative kind of thing. It's like they hate viewers, and it's like I know a handful of people whose careers like live on hate viewers kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Take someone like Keemstar. He lives off drama.
Stuff like that, like living off of drama or living off of people who want to negatively impact you. I'm thinking there's a guy, I believe, I'm trying to think of his name, Dark Side Phil, I believe. He's like an older YouTuber kind of guy, and he's not the best at video games. He gets mad at the video games, but I feel like it isn't like a character rage. It feels like a person genuinely getting upset at a game at times. And then it's like people just kind of egging it on.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what people in on the joke too.
But when does the joke end?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, is the creator joking?
No.
I know there's been times where I've streamed on Twitch and streamed in general, and I'd be actually pissed. Like playing Breath of the Wild, trying to climb up a mountain. At a certain point, I was about to turn the stream on and be like, "This mountain, I'm about to break this game with a hammer." Because like it was raining, I was trying to climb up, and people were egging me on, and I was just like, "Listen, guys, you couldn't climb the mountain either." But I eventually got up it, and then I ended the stream, and I was just like, "It's okay."
You climbed the mountain.
I climbed the mountain. Yeah, I climbed that wet, dirty old Breath of the Wild, not having enough stamina mountain. If there was anything that I've ever done, it was that. But that too, I feel like when someone presents themselves in that way, say like someone builds their audience, like say take the Grand All, maybe H3H3 and Keemstar's drama that's been happening, right? Like I think we could all agree that H3H3's content's always been a certain call-outy way, but Keemstar has always presented himself in this way of not caring and being like, this is a character I play and I'm gonna do that, but he gets so defensive when anyone calls him out on it. It's like, are you doubling down on what you're doing, or is this actually hurting you? Because no one's going to be able to take you seriously or care about it when things actually go down. And I think it goes with any other creators. And like, I feel like as a platform, people always talk, it's like, oh, we're a group of YouTubers, but it's never a group of YouTubers when someone's benefiting and someone's not. At that point, it's someone else's success over yours. So they don't care how they have to hurt you or destroy you, unless it's affecting them.
Well, that's where I feel like YouTube really enters the business side of viewing at that point, because like you have the for fun entertainment, what you want to do, and then you have the idea of, is this going to benefit me monetary? Like not you, because you could do something you absolutely hate, but it could make you a ton of money, or you could do something you absolutely love and make nothing. And it's like finding that balance. And when it comes to it, it's like I feel like Keemstar is a very business oriented minded person. Is this going to make me money? Not like how will this affect my image or how will this affect me, but is this going to make me money in the long run kind of thing. Can I stir the pot to get more viewers, and will those viewers then view my, like, it's a stir in the pot, I guess is a good way of putting it.
And I think he at least presents himself in that way. I mean, this podcast wasn't even supposed to be about this, right? It's a good statement though, that I feel like, well, of course he presents himself in that way, but I think we also have to remember the people who put themselves in his way, like right after a big drama thing happens and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go on Keemstar. I think they know how that's gonna go. They're gonna get derailed and belittled, and their points are going to be, shattered. I think the personal thing to do is take a step back and reflect, and then maybe do it personally, so it's not someone trying to control the information, because he's going to do the video either way. But as long as you're okay and you're happy, I think that's the takeaway for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the times, I think we take the things that happen to us online as this personal vendetta strike against our heart, and it can feel that way. I mean, my mom streams on Facebook, right? I have a real cool gamer mom, and she got shared in troll groups, right? And she has people coming at her, like literally like belittling her and coming after her and threatening her life. And I'm like, she's streaming on Facebook. And these grown men, like in their 40s, people in their 50s, people with children our age, Ross. And I'm just like, why do that? Like, where's the love and where's the reason? Does it fuel yourself to be this way? And how does that go into it too?
I feel like it comes down to like a power dynamic of feeling more powerful than someone.
Yeah.
Because they're doing something that goes against your values. And because it goes against your values, it's easy to, in a sense, I see, paint it black and white. I'm the good guy, you're the bad. Like, because nothing ever boils down to complete good, complete evil, but people easily separate and say, I'm the good, this is the bad. Yeah. My trolling is for there's an end game, in a sense. I'm going to be above this person I look down on.
Mm-hmm.
And even in such weird ways, because if they can get a rile, they, quote unquote, the troll wins if they get a rile out of you.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's so hard not to, because it's like, at times, because it's like you have people there trying to put you down. So that's where I feel, in looping back, it's like you can try and use self-deprecating to battle that. And I feel like it becomes a feedback loop of, it's an armor, but it's an armor that you're hurting yourself in a sense.
Double-edged sword. You swing at someone at the same time you're cutting yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it does go into that where it becomes a safety method, because rather than deal with a problem, say, in a more productive way, you'll just kind of go for the easy, well, you want me to die? I guess I could.
Well, what happens if I did? Siri, where's the nearest bridge? Oh, Siri actually turned on.
I have Google.
You have Google.
No, stop.
Fancy. A very good way to put it as well. When we talk about like the ways, because there's different types of humor. I think there's genuine people who enjoy anti-humor, per se. They like those type of jokes, and they generally find them funny. And I think there's comedians who do a great job at representing that, but also being respectful to what it is. Like, I can watch something and it disagree with everything I believe, but on the other hand, I take it as everything, especially laughter and humor, it's a gift for us to be able to express this. And I feel like we should be able to talk about these things, because if we're not able to, then where's the real independence? Where's the real freedom in it? Because we have to be able to talk. And if, I'm like, Ross, you can't do this because it's wrong. You're going to be like, well, John, I heard you say this like 20 minutes ago. Why are you telling me how to say it?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to personal jokes, when I hear people do this on the personal level, I'm like, sometimes, like, when I sit down and talk to him, it's like, no, I'm not having a good day. And I just want to tell those people, like, if you're doing those type of things, that you're not too far from a friend who cares about you. And it is way easier to be by yourself than it ever is to talk about a situation, I would say. Because we could keep stuff inside forever if we wanted to. I know I've kept, like, I was reading back on some things I actually did recently, and I was like, And it was on the lines like, I don't accept your apology. And I was like, looking back, and I was like, that is such an asshole thing for me to say. And you know, through everything that I went through now, it's like, I just wish that everyone that, because I know I'm not going to get that opportunity, right? But I just, in my heart now, I know that I forgive, and I know for a fact, even if they hate my guts, that my side of it, I've forgiven, I've moved on, and no matter what they did, I know for a fact that I'm moving forward, and I hope nothing but happiness for people like that, you know? I feel like that's such a rare thing nowadays, that most people are just like, I'm gonna hang on to this because this defines me, or this like is like the thing that I'm gonna let define me, you know?
The hill someone's willing to die on.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah.
Which I feel like it all boils down to, because there are the hills to battle for and die on, but sometimes it gets skewed in a sense of where, again, black and white, it's easy to say this is it because this is my black and that's their white kind of thing. Team 1, team 2.
Yeah. Because in their perspective, they're right. You know, I don't think anyone sees himself as the bad guy in anything. I think they're like, no, like, I think my opinion is valid and I want to be heard, and I think the way I feel is valid and you can't change that. I think people who have a certain mindset is good. I think people need to be able to come to their own conclusions as long as you're able to talk about them and be like, well, I can see why, you know? Because at the point where you're like, no, you're not having a discussion, it's just one-sided. Because even going into, like, say if I had an opinion on something, right? And you had an opinion on something, and you were headstrong about yours and I was headstrong about mine. At the end of the day, if we had a discussion about it, we're not going to come out of it learning anything or being in unison in any way. We're actually going to come from a place of hate. What I want to do is I want to be like, Ross, you have an opinion on something? I want to hear it, and I want to take something away from it, and I want to tell you how I feel. And maybe this hill can be a little shorter that we're on. Maybe the hill, like, I can see you from my hill and you can see me from yours, and we just be okay with the hills we have. Sometimes people can't, and I understand. I think, you know, it's like, well, John, one thing happened to me and I just can't get over it. Okay. You know, it's like, I get it, but just know that people are there for you, and it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to carry hatred with you. I think it's unhealthy, really. And I guess that maybe that's my enlightened, dumb Minecraft YouTuber opinion. I think it's eaten at me, right? With the guilt that I had for it, ate at me until I was like, I can't do anything about it. I forgive what they did. I want forgiveness for what I did, and there we go. Like, I'll keep it at that. I'm okay with myself at the end of the day. You know, I'm not crying myself to sleep anymore.
I guess on different situations as well, because I guess on a different note, and I mean, this is something to kind of share. I will honestly say there are a handful of people I do dislike strongly.
Yeah,
and it's one of those. I've had the chance to be a person to say, like, I forgive. But I feel like there are certain situations where it is okay to not forgive and just kind of move on, in a sense.
Yeah.
If you don't forgive, though, and you don't move on, I feel like that can be the catalyst of, like, you're stuck in a cycle, because then you're not moving on and you're not over it, in a sense, where you can not be over it, but as long as you're moving forward and continuing on, I feel like that's you're still going up. But when you're not over it, you're stagnating, kind of thing.
I'd agree full-heartedly. I think, like, just a quick example, if you're in an abusive relationship, right, and someone punches you in the face one day, right, and you give them another chance, they punch you in the face the next week, and you just keep getting punched in the face, I don't think you should keep going back to the people who are abusing you. It's okay to not let people back into your life and not accept that, yeah, I get it. You're doing your own thing. I'm doing this thing. But dude, you punched me in the face 5 times. I think at the end, if, like you said, like, if you're going forward and you're like, I'm not going to let that define me, that I think you're doing the best.
I'm not going to be the guy that talks about how he was only punched in the face 5 times.
Yeah.
It's like, I was punched in the face 5 times. Well, you know what? That happened years ago, and I'm past it.
I think because you are one of the most loving people I know. You know, I think that the conversation we have, you're caring, and you do your best to express that to the people who, like, if I needed you, you'd be there for me. And I think you would genuinely care about what I had to say. But I know for a fact that there's some things, like you said, that there's some things in my life I can't get over. And I know that there's big things that happen to me. But I know those things, if those things wouldn't have happened, I'm not the person I am right now. And I quite like the person I am right now. So I have to accept them. And like you said, you move forward. I like that, though. I like the you don't have to stick around with the person who's hitting you in the face. You can move away from that, but don't let the hit define you. Don't let the fall define you.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like part of the whole getting stuck on is I feel like you can kind of get into shoulda, coulda, woulda mindsets.
That's the grieving mindset.
You sit there and you think, I shoulda did this. I coulda did this. Things would have came out. And it's one of those, you shoulda, you coulda, and you know what? With hindsight, you would have. And I feel like you trip up on things like it's like walking on a path and you tripped on a log. So then you're walking for a while longer. 10 minutes later, you're still thinking about that log you tripped on 10 minutes ago. Oh, you could have walked over it. You could have, and you're letting that log from 10 minutes ago still be, part of your life, part of what's made you. Yeah, you tripped on that log. You're still walking forward. You're still on your path going forward.
Don't let tripping on that log and thinking about it make you trip again.
You're still yeah.
You're still walking.
Don't trip on something you've already passed.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier said than done.
Course.
Very, very easily, but it's something. It's a little knowledge nugget.
I think when they get out of it, I think when I get out of those situations, say like big things in my life, like when my grandfather died, right? I was miserable. Like like that despair iron taste you can get in your mouth sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like I felt that all the time. And in my worldview was shot. I mean, I didn't care about a damn thing. And through that terrible experience, through me throwing all that away, through bad things happening and friendships ending and me not talking to people again, I feel like through that one defining moment, I've been able not to let that be the thing that I stopped trying at. Because I was like, if anything, if he could tell me one thing, I think he would say that he was proud of me and that he would not want me to stop. Because he wasn't, the last thing he told me was a joke. And that's really stuck with me. That the thing that he left me with was happiness.
Mm-hmm. Trying to leave a smile. Yeah,
and the last thing was that he wasn't scared of anything he went through. He was 76, and I know he was in pain, but I was like, just let him be okay. And like I prayed for him. Like there was this little prayer center right outside, right? And I prayed for him, and then someone came in and said he passed. And I was angry. I couldn't tell you how angry I was after that moment. I let this define me, and for a long time I was cynical. I think I was narcissistic, and I didn't care about what other people thought or what I said or the impact. I only cared about me, and that was such a waste. I feel like I had to go through so much heartbreak to realize that people other than myself matter, and their happiness matters too. That just because this one thing happens, because life is this turmoil of trying to overcome these things in your life and these mountains you got to climb, like this Legend of Zelda mountain. And
it's raining. Sometimes it rains.
Sometimes it rains. Sometimes you're standing
the climb's a little harder.
Yeah.
You gotta wait on that ledge a little. But the thing is, as long as you're not climbing back, it's still raining, but as long as you're not climbing back down.
Yeah. And afterward, like 3 years later, right? Like I have this appreciation for life. I have this love and outlook. I remember when I would look up in the sky when that happened, and I could see, like, what does it matter? This darkness, right? And it's like, and that's a terrible thing to think. Because I think once everything loses meaning, you yourself lose meaning in everyday life. I think it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
I think now I would like to think that I am so happy to have the opportunity to be like, I'm okay. Everything that's will happen to me will happen. And so it's going to be hard, you know, like things happen that you can never explain. But I don't think it's for me to understand. I'm just happy and I'm pushing forward. I'm trying my best to be more open with my heart and not harden it to the things that I see. I want to be like, the world sucks, but I can't just say the world sucks and not do anything about it. I want to be the guy who says the world sucks, but you know what we can do? We can try to make it a little better. You know, because
the kind of guy. The
Yeah.
world sucks. Well, you know, my vacuum sucks too.
Yeah.
Vacuum does good work.
Yeah, vacuum does good work. To bring it back to the whole conversation as well, to let yeah, it all has a point. The loop, to bring it all back. I didn't let that significant event in my life define who I was. It meant a lot to me. He meant a lot to me, but I wasn't stuck there for 3 years. I was constantly trying to become something better, even when I didn't know I was trying. Looking back on it, I can see everything step by step by step now. The things I wish I could have done different, I couldn't have done different because I chose those decisions, right? So I'm like, cool, I did those things. I can't take them back, but I can learn from them and I can keep going. And I know for a fact, hopefully a year from now as well, I'll be able to look back and be like, I did some stupid things, but at least I'm still trying to be a better person.
I think like that's one of the main things is it's as long as you're trying to leave every day like a little better, at least.
Yeah.
It's the small improvement, even when it's like it doesn't seem like it's worth it. You don't want to move forward, but then, you know, and sometimes it's and cycling back, it's like you just don't go down further. And it's like I feel like in the big circle, it's when you're already on that ledge and it's raining, the self-deprecation can be that climb down. It's that double edge.
I know for a fact when I was in that vulnerable state, I did a lot of those jokes. I know people right now who are doing those kind of jokes, like going through a similar situation. And I'm like, I know it cuts because at the end of the day, you know, my grandpa still died. And no matter what I say, like, if I say something bad about that, it's cutting me twice. It's reaffirming that. I just think that when it comes to self-deprecating humor, I'm not saying everyone who does it, you know, obviously, I'm not saying everyone who does these types of jokes, there's something wrong with you. I'm saying that eventually, and with the right circumstances, with anything, these things are going to chip at your shoulder until you feel broken. I feel like people think that, oh, I'm too broken to be fixed. It's just not true because you were never broken to begin with.
It's your cognition of how you view yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's your own personality is not the word. There's a word I can't think of. It's the it and the.
I'm trying to think with you.
I'm sorry.
Define it. Explain it.
It ruins the point.
No, it doesn't. Explain it. I'll help you.
It's your not self-esteem, but it's your self-image. If you view yourself in such a way, you distort your take on it. I'm not worthy of that. You say that so many times, you believe it yourself. Even if you tell yourself, oh, it's just a joke, I don't believe it. You've said it so many times that you're the way you view it starts to believe that internally, kind of thing. It's like it is a joke, but it's like if you make that enough, it's something that defines you.
Yeah.
And you start to believe it yourself.
It's a real scary thing because I think we ourselves as people, like individually, like everyone's so different. I don't think we're so unique. In fact, I don't think you could find another person exactly like me or exactly like you. I think you just couldn't do it. Not even throughout history, Ross. There's never been someone like you, and I think that's an amazing thought. And I think it goes deeper when we're like that because it's like you can affect the way you look at yourself.
Here's an example.
Yeah.
Really, you say that because I get comments all the time telling me I'm Call Me Carson.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not Call Me Carson.
And it's one of those, I ended up, I really let that get to me for a while. And I ended up having like a small conversation with Carson about it because I was getting a constant bombardment of, hey, you're just a Call Me Carson copy, you're just a ripoff, blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah. And I went to the extreme. In my intros I do 5 memes and a picture of myself. And for one of them I literally put a picture of Carson because I was just so tired of being compared to him. And it was one of those, like, it was the double-edged sword. I tried to laugh along with it, but really it was still hurting me.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, it wasn't coming from a place where I was accepting it and okay, but more trying to accept, like trying to make myself accept it.
Putting
And it's
yourself,
like,
like
I feel
moving
like,
yourself into it, right? Like,
and it's like the best thing that happened relating to that was when I had that conversation with him. Like we just kind of chatted about it a little bit. He apologized. He didn't even know about it. Like he didn't like it's one of those, like, it becomes, and it's one of those, like, I feared him for a bit, and it's like I let these other people give him this power,
yeah.
scary kind of power. And it's like, dude, super chill, super nice. Like it's one of those, like, you give power to these things.
Yeah. Wow, that reflects hard with me because, you know, people compared me to you all the time. You know?
And it's one of those, like, I hate that. I hate being compared in a sense. Like there is a good comparison at times where it's like, if two people are working at the same thing, and, like, you know, the anime rivalry type, you know, using each other to grow. But when people are just saying, "Oh, you're not as good as this person,"
It's not even
it isn't the
constructive.
same. It's not a constructive comparison. It's just someone putting you down, and it isn't them. It's like, I wonder at times, it's like, do people ever consider the word, like, I feel like it comes from my words hold no power is what they think, but
Mm-hmm.
really their words hold so much power to other people. You think your voice is so small, but like the right words can really hold a mountain.
Well, think about it. You take that person and you in a room and they say that to you, that's a person-on-person interaction, because that's what it is. It's like, sure, like, we can see it as just a comment, but that comment is a person behind it, someone who feels that. I mean, I've seen Max reply to people, right? Because he genuinely cares about what people think about his content. So he'll take it in a way like, well, someone was like, I don't like your content anymore. And he'll constructively be like, well, why don't you like it? Because I think he generally kind of would want to know. It's like, am I doing something wrong? Like, what about my content do you not like? And then they'll immediately either backpedal because they did not expect him to see it or reply, or they'll like double down on what they said and get real defensive about it.
It isn't a conversation. It just
No.
becomes an attack. Like they see it as and it's one of those, I feel like it's the power in both sense. Each person sees it as, I'm only trying to voice a small thing, but it becomes like a powerful word on each. Well, why do you feel that way? Oh, you're a cute, like, it becomes an attack when it's not.
It's like the fact that we can have this conversation without me getting defensive, I think, or about any of it, because if we're trying to be open about it, is like, it's a good start. But when people are just like, this is how I feel, you suck, you're just like A, B, or C, it's like, why? Do you have anything to back up your claim? No, I just don't like you. Okay, man.
And I feel the big circle. I feel like that goes into team 1, team 2. Like, I'm on team 1, you're on team 2.
If you're not on team 1, you're an enemy of team 2. You're on team 2 and fighting with team 1. It's like
it becomes easier to, that isn't a person who has their own thoughts, feelings. They're just someone on team 2.
Yeah,
they're a
team 2.
Dirty team 2er.
Dirty blue team.
Team 1. Woo!
To talk about it a little more, to go into it, when I first started, helping Corey, like 4 years ago, maybe more, at the time, Tommy left our group, and they started comparing me to him. His name was John. He played the guitar and harmonica. I play the guitar and harmonica and the piano now. So it's like, it was easy for them to compare me to him. Our humor wasn't similar either, was a surprising thing. We were way different with our humor. But it was still, they would take the littlest things and compare us with them. Like when I was doing stuff with Corey, I started playing, Flowey, but you used to play Flowey. So people were like, I liked Old Flower. I like this. And it was just like, we're like what we're used to, right? And I think we can all have that experience of people thinking we're someone we're not. It's like Ashley played that.
Change is
Skyward's map.
scary.
Yes, change is really scary.
Some people like it though. But I mean, like using videos as an example, like new map can be a draw-in, but a lot of people, it's like for things that are super familiar, it's like if something's stale and boring, it's like they do want enough. It's enough change. There's too much change and there's too little change. So can you hit the right amount of change?
From a creative aspect, I guess just for me at least, when I'm creating content, it's like, well, not only do I have to think about how the audience will react to it, I also have to keep them interested. So it's almost like I'm writing a small TV show. I have to leave cliffhangers. I have to leave interesting developments. I have to do a circle of writing to make sure everyone's happy with it. And also the topic, it's like, I do FNAF content, right? So obviously, like, oh, the people who see that off cuff are going to be like, oh, he's a trend follower. Honestly, I just like writing stories, and I use FNAF as a platform to do that. Does it get more views than, say, my Bendy or my SCP? Of course it does, because it's FNAF. But I'm not going to let it belittle myself to make it less important than the other things I create. You got to be proud of what you do, no matter what it is.
Because if you're not proud of it, then you have to be your own cheerleader at times.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't expect other people to do the cheering for you.
I can't. It's like someone who's really close to me, like it may be you, like compare it. Like I loved my John Stoner series, and I didn't love it because you were in it. I loved it because I liked creating it, and eventually it became something that I enjoyed and became my own thing. Even though it was based on something you did, I found my own identity because I created something that I enjoyed and thought was funny within it. And it even came full back around, and I had you in it, and I was like, that was the perfect way to end it for me. It was this start of me thinking that I want to do something like that because I really loved your humor, right? And I thought, like, man, he's really funny, and I love what he's doing. I bet I could do something like that. But the more and more I did it, less and less did it become about the Redstone project itself and more about what I wanted to do with my friends at times at 4 a.m. So I think it's a mix, right? Because it's like Ashley did that sky block map that like blew up like to 100, 200K, right? And she got massive hate on it because they were like, you're copying Pyrocynical. And it's like, this is YouTube, right? This is a platform every day where content's being produced and put out. I don't think any of us are trying to steal from each other unless it's blatantly trying to copy thumbnails and titles to get like people to click on our videos because it's similar to yours.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a good place to end that, right? Like that's pretty good. I think we nailed those points. Self-deprecating humor, like how it is used and how people can be affected by it and how you're affected by it, that double-edged sword. Talked about identity and how even people could try to force an identity on you.
Good.
I think that this was a great conversation about deprecating humor, identity, and how people can force itself upon you and how you can find yourself trapped within it. Would you like to say anything, what you do, who you are? You can go for it right now.
I make variety gaming content to try to entertain people, give people something to watch throughout the day, something to take, something to do. I've had bad times before, and I have YouTubers I watch, so it's nice to be part of that cycle. There's people who enjoy watching me, so I'm your pal Ross.
Mm-hmm.
I pal around.
They can find you on Twitch and YouTube if they would like. Your pal Ross is your Twitch, right?
No. Ross Friend, because
Ross
someone
Friend.
stole my Twitch.
Someone stole your Twitch. So go follow your pal Ross on his YouTube and Twitch feed as, what'd you say?
Ross Friend.
Ross Friend. And go follow him on Twitter as well. I'd like to thank you for your time and you taking this time to talk to me about these serious things. And maybe in the future, we can come back to it maybe a few months.
Yeah, sounds good. Sound good.
Love you, Ross. You have a good day.
Dab.
Welcome back to the Social Distortion Podcast. This is the second part, and I would like to thank Ross one more time for coming in and being in the first segment with us talking about deprecating humor and depression in this generation. Next thing we're going to be talking about is something a bit more personal. And I understand if not a lot of people want to listen to this side of things or this part of the podcast. I completely understand. I would just like to say I love you and thank you for joining me this far. But for the people who want to stick around and listen to my faith side of this, thank you so much and welcome. I seen a lot of people last month comment on my video, and I would just like to say a few things. I seen a lot of comments of people coming out and being like, I've always felt like I've never been able to talk or be able to express these things. I've seen a lot of people come out in fear. I've seen a lot of people come out with uncertainty. After I did that video, I actually had someone personally come to me, and we started talking every Monday with a group of people about spiritual things, about faith, and how we think of things. And we're not at all from the same mindset. We have people who don't believe. We have people who were atheist and came to this agnostic view. We have people from a Judaism side of things. We have people from a Christian Baptist faith. We have people from more of a Catholic side of faith. And I just want to say, no matter what, no matter how you're feeling or how you're doing, Christ is with you. And I know that may sound like, oh, of course Christ is with me. But I just want to say that you are loved beyond compare. Every one of you, even if you are not in faith, you are loved. I see this with so many people of people coming at each other, attacking each other for what they think or what they believe. And I think what me and Ross were talking about really reflects this, that to have an open discussion and to have a conversation is to be open to the possibility. I have someone coming on to the next podcast. The next podcast episode is going to be called Why Have Faith? And it's with someone called Stephen Parker. Stephen Parker used to be an atheist. He lives, in Canada. I know he's pretty open about who he is and what he does. So he's going to be our next guest on the Social Distortion podcast. And I just wanted to tell you that there's going to be an episode dedicated to this. And maybe if there's a positive response to it, and if you want to see more, I'll do more content like that. Or maybe I'll create a separate channel altogether for that, or for the podcast in that way. But, however, I wanted to talk about something that I feel like reflects this perfectly. How and what do we know about how Christ dealt with depression? Did he go through depression? Did he go through despair? And when I asked that question, when I wrote up the script, it surprised me that the answer is an overwhelmingly amount of despair and depression. And I was convicted into myself because I was thinking to myself, how dare I say that Jesus was in despair? Or how dare I say that he was depressed or that he had moments of anguish? Then I started reading, and I realized we know so much about him. We know what he did as a job. We know he got hungry. We know he slept. We even know he cried at the tomb of a dead loved one. It also really surprises me that that would be documented at all. To me, like if I was trying to create a deity to worship, I don't think those things would be worthy. I think that is point out the flaw of a character rather than the strong endeavor of someone to be able to be like, yes, I am all powerful, all knowing, and I've never had to deal with any emotions. I am above you. And I think, I even talked about that with Ross, people thinking they're above you. And there's a story about how Jesus washes his disciples' feet. And I was like, the God that I worship got down and washed his disciples' feet. And I thought, wow, like, that's very weird, right? That he cared about them enough to show them love and that compassion that he wanted them to show to themselves and to others. To get back to it, we see him go through so many emotions. We see him get spit on. We see him get mocked. We see him get crucified by people who are supposed to accept him. He was the fulfillment of prophecy, and they killed him. And it is so amazing to me how much of this we have and how much information we have about his ordealment with dying and the trials he went through. When he was in the garden right before he was going to be crucified, he asked his disciples to stay awake with him, but they didn't. They fell asleep. And the people who said they would be there for him, the people that said, I will follow you to the end, people who said, we will never deny you, it was so quick that they closed their eyes and left him alone. And when he was in that garden, he prayed that he wouldn't have to die. I mean, Jesus probably loved living. He probably loved going to weddings, going to worship at the synagogues. He probably loved life like we all do. None of us want to die. He asked if it was possible. He wanted to confirm that it was necessary, that this will be the will of the Father, that he would die, that there would be no other way. And I think it's interesting because in that moment in Scripture, it says his sweat was like blood dripping on the ground. And that's an actual medical condition. When someone is in such emotional and physical anguish, they will bleed and sweat blood, that their veins will explode and out from their skin blood will drop. I couldn't imagine being in such emotional anguish. I don't think anyone has ever been in that much emotional anguish. Maybe people have went through a more physical pain, but I don't think anyone's ever went through a more emotional pain. I think when I asked this question, I didn't have a full understanding. I don't think I still fully understand how someone could be feeling in that moment. I just wanted to tell you, if the person we worship and give praise to went through despair, depression, and moments of agony, then I think we'll be okay. You know, even Jesus died. He overcame the grave, but he died on that cross, died for all of us, died for everyone's sins. And I believe that. I used to not to. I used to not to believe that at all, but I do now. And I just wanted to say that if everything I believe is true, then he went through the most emotional anguish that anyone has ever seen. And that through that, we've been forgiven. So when we're going through despair and we're going through depression and we're making those jokes, remember that everyone has went through them. People before us have went through them. Jesus himself went through depression, despair, and anguish, moments of doubt, where he had to sit down and pray to his Father to ask if this would be his will, if there would be another way. I think in times like these, we should need to be kind and loving towards each other and know that everything will be okay. I love all you guys, and I would like to thank you for listening at this part of the segment. I know this part isn't really for everyone, but if you took something away from it, whether you believe or whether you don't, thank you. I know that things like this are not really what people want to hear, but I think it's important that we talk about them. And I would like to thank you so much for having an open enough mind to keep listening. And I would like to thank you all for listening to the Social Distortion podcast. God bless you, and I hope you have an amazing day.